The GTX 1080 Ti is over 7 years old now, and this is considered the greatest graphics card of all time. But how does it perform now in 2024? And should you still think about owning one? Hey guys, what's going on? It's Chamber here, and yes, I did buy a GTX 1080 Ti in 2024. I know, it's kind of weird, like, Chamber, you have a 4090, you have had a 6900 XT, you had a 2080 Ti. Why do you care about a 1080 Ti? So, this card was, like, offered to me by my friend, and I actually overclocked this, like, back in the years, like, 4 years ago, I, like, overclocked this card for him, so I know how it overclocks. I've repasted it before. That was actually one of my original, like, big TikToks that blew up, was just me repasting the card. But I bought it because, well, I'm going to send it to someone else in my Discord, actually, because it's just helping me and stuff. But I wanted to test it, and I wanted to max it out. And the only reason I've really been thinking about that is because I'm like, I've been kind of contemplating going back to 1080p, like 1080p displays, you know, like a high refresh rate. Like, if you have those 540 hertz monitors, do you really need an insanely fast GPU, or should you spend money elsewhere? So this is mostly from a competitive esports kind of look. So I bought this. You can get some online for like $200. There's some locally available for me for like $150. So you can get them for insanely good deals. Like the 1080 Ti is such a good deal now, and especially with a couple of mods you can do. The first one is an XOC BIOS. This will remove the power limit as well as the temperature limit. So be very, very careful. Because of that, I am not going to leave links into the XOC BIOS. You have to do your own research, but I do have some BIOS flashing guides that I've done before, like years ago, like 3 years ago, but I'll leave a link down below for those. This GPU actually does come with an XOC BIOS because one day I got bored when I was overclocking this for my friend during COVID, and I remotely flashed XOC BIOS because I was like, well, if it breaks, like, no, he can't do anything about it. But yeah, that actually gave me a little bit more performance, and instead of the standard 1.093 volt limit, you get 1.2 volts, so you get a little bit more. What does that equate to? About 50 megahertz more in clock speed. Is that worth it? Depends. Maybe if you're really GPU bound, yeah. But let's get in with the mods we did. So first of all, this thing was like disgusting when I got it, so let's just dust it out real quick. And now that we've dusted it out, we're going to use PTM 7950 to replace the old Cryonaut thermal paste that is on it. If you don't know where this card came from, if you don't know where your card came from, it possibly has never gotten the thermal paste changed, which can cause a lot of temperature issues. And you can see like really high temps. Pascal is very temperature dependent, so like be careful about that. I would highly recommend using PTM 7950. It is the best just performance wise. It's not my favorite. You'll see in a little bit, but also if not, you can just use KPX or something. I'll leave affiliate links down below to both of those, as well as the duster I use, so check that out. Got the GPU all cleaned up now, so as you can see, the die is nice and shiny. Got all that old thermal paste off. This is just Cryonaut, probably repasted, if I had to guess, like 2021, so it's fairly old. Temps were fine though, like 50C max and 3D mark. But I'm gonna go take the PTM 7950 out of the freezer, apply it, and then we just gotta wait like, you know, I don't know, 10 minutes for it to, whatever it has to do to like actually become good and fast. Yes. And there we go. So we have the PTM connected. I still have the plastic on top. So I just gotta put the plastic on and then grab this, plug it in here, and then we're good to go. And then we can obviously do temperature testing. And then it's time to slap these things on. Yep. Let's do it. Here we go. It did take me a second time though, because PTM is so good, but it's so annoying in my opinion to put on. Like, it flaked all off. Like, look at this. Like, it just started flaking off. Did the second time around, took my time, and then we got it. I had to put like a blade underneath it and then grab it with the tweezers wherever they are. Right here. Oh, well, I dropped them. And that got it. So now I'm gonna reassemble the thing and test the temps. Here we are in 3D Mark. This is times by extreme, so about 360-ish watts, 330, 45 degrees. This might be a little bit colder than like the Cryonaut before. Honestly, I think that the heatsink is really what's holding us back. In something like the 4090, we have this really big heatsink, so this actually does kind of affect it, where I think that we just need something better on the heatsink. So this is when we're going to replace this with P12 Maxes. So I'm going to take it apart, then we're going to connect P12 Maxes to it. Chamber edition. This is a 1080 Ti Chamber edition. There's going to be some jank involved. Brings me back. This isn't the first GPU I've done it on. I did it on my 6900 XT. I'm probably going to do it on my 4090 that's back there too, because it helps with temps and it just kind of looks cool. So yeah, let's take a look at putting P12 Maxes on the fans. So took the shroud off and here we go. We have the P12 Maxes deshrouded. So what I did, if you're ever going to deshroud, I've done this before in my 6900 XT. I'd recommend putting zip ties between these two. I have like really high quality, like strong ones that I used around here as well. So I guess if you're doing this yourself, or if you have a 1080 Ti Strix or a Strix model of this kind, because a lot of the Strixes from this era use the same cooler, so you can do the same thing. I also connected it right here on the IO plate, and then here at the bottom, and then right here through like the mid plate. There's nothing here, but like look, there's no sag at all. So now we're gonna put it in, see how it performs. Also, this card has fan headers on it, so hopefully, because I removed the like power and RGB off the shroud, this should still work, so we'll see. But that looks kind of cool. I mean, hey, now it can just be controlled by the GPU and not by like, you know, your motherboard and your CPU temps. So let's put it in. So it's all booted and everything, and one thing I noticed was that just using this MSI Afterburner with a custom skin, I thought maybe I can use the fan speed here and control it. No, this does not control the external fans. Did some research and I realized I need to install a GPU tweak, which is Asus's like MSI Afterburner. It's the same thing. I'm an MSI Afterburner guy. If you like this, cool. But what I'm doing is I am just maxing out the external fan duty, hitting apply. It's actually quieter than the old shroud here, which is kind of cool. But the reason why I'm not a huge fan of this is because you don't want two softwares kind of competing for things. This possibly could cause issues. Scores seem fine in benchmarks, but I'm all out of fan hubs. I have an ITX motherboard, so I only have 3 fan headers, so that's why. But let's see what the performance looks like and what the temperatures are. Also, when I do just close this, it keeps it going, so I should be fine. When I restart, it should do the same thing, I hope. Loading up times by, this is actually like the lowest temp I've seen at 38 degrees. Now it's rising up. So honestly, this will go up to about 47, 46. So I'll lose 1 to 2. Actually, I'll lose like 4 degrees. But I do think that like the heat sink is mostly the main reason. If it was 3 slots, this would be a lot cooler. But that's all fine. You know, like honestly, any temperature difference, and also this is 370 watts at 1.2 volts, which is an XOC. It's higher than what you can actually run in this card, which is 1.093 without a custom BIOS. So like, you know, I think this is a win, and in a game, it's gonna be running like maybe 150, 200 watts. It'll be a lot cooler, probably in the 30s. And there's also no GPU boost, so it's not downclocking. Yeah. Okay, so we got the temperatures really good. We've got it not having any issues with temperatures. Got it all cleaned out, got it refreshed with some new things. But how does this perform in games? That's really what matters. I mean, we can do all these mods, but if it's not going to help for gaming performance, I don't want to do it. So I have decided to test this against my 4090. It's my only reference point. If you want to be able to make sure I can afford other graphics cards, hit the link down below. Join the Discord. Support me down there. But so we have decided to test it against 1080p low on my RTX 4090. So the 1080 Ti was running at 2100 megahertz plus like 500 VRAM plus 600 VRAM. I think 600. while the RTX 4090 is also running on an XOC BIOS. I've made videos on that as well before. So there is no downclocking at all on any of these cards. The 4090 is running at 3 gigahertz plus 1000 on the VRAM. So yeah, the games we tested were Fortnite. That is in performance mode, by the way, all low. Typically my other results are in DX12, so performance mode. There's going to be a reason why, so keep watching for that. We had Counter-Strike 2 using the benchmark map. We had CyberPunk 2077, which is running 1080p high just because that's a single player title. And then we also had Rainbow Six Siege just to get a Vulcan title in there. So let's take a look at the benchmarks now. Starting off the benchmarks with CyberPunk 2077. And yeah, this is a blowout for the 4090. This is an insane GPU bound title. Both are at about like 90% actually. So there you go. But look, the power draw isn't even insane on the 1080 Ti. And if you're running something like FSR2, which is supported, shout out AMD for that, and making it open source, you can probably get about 70, 80 FPS. In higher resolutions though, this would be a no-go. You're going to have to run this game at 1080p. So if you're a single player person, you're obviously going to spend more money on your GPU than your CPU, where the CPU doesn't matter as much, and the GPU just for those high quality like reflections and ray tracing. Now on to Counter-Strike 2, and the average FPS, the 4090 destroys it, which is not really what I expected actually. I kind of thought they're going to be very, very close, but I guess this new Source 2 engine is a little more GPU bound than normal. But like, look, the lows are about the same. Okay, the 4090 is just a little bit higher, but that experience is going to be very, very similar, which is all you really need in a competitive esports title. Am I going to say that the 4090 and the 1080 are going to feel the exact same? No. The 4090 will probably feel much smoother, but if you're on a 1080 Ti and you're running like 1280 by 960 stretch, probably not going to notice that much of a difference because that GPU load is going to go down significantly. Rainbow Six Siege did not give the result I expected. I thought the 1080 Ti was going to do a lot better. Luckily though, I did actually play this game myself with just some friends, and the performance was actually not that bad. Like I was playing in 1440p too, and I was getting like 250 FPS, close to my monitor's refresh rate, which is 270 at 1440p. So, you know, if you're playing at 1080p, even if you have a 360 Hz monitor, I say this would be fine, especially if a 1080p 240. No reason to worry about the 1080 Ti at all. I say that this is a pretty good win for the 1080 Ti. Obviously, the 4090 destroys it. It's 7 years newer and like double the MSRP when launched. One of the most GPU bound titles in my benchmark suite here, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, and it's very, very obvious how GPU bound this is. The 4090 is GPU bound, so like the 1080 Ti obviously is, and just look at how bad the 1080 Ti performs. It's about a quarter of the FPS of the 4090. Is that going to be a big deal? Yeah, absolutely. Can you use FSR? Yeah, just like CyberPunk. But do you really want to be upscaling in a game like this? Especially like think about it, you're playing Warzone. You want to see people really, really far away. That upscaling is going to make it really hard to see people. It might cause some blur, like some shimmer or something. Something you really don't want to see. So you're going to need a high-end GPU if you're playing COD. And now we have Fortnite. So this is with performance mode, which is DX11, and then the brand new Fortnite Reloaded map, which gives a lot higher FPS. It's a much smaller map with a lot less people. But look, the FPS is about the same. In fact, the 0.1% lows are actually winning on the 1080 Ti, but they're very, very close. If you're running DX12, you're going to need a high-end GPU, at least a 20 series. But like, if you're playing something like this all the time, in performance mode, the 1080 Ti will just be perfectly fine. You'll have no issues. And if I was having to play on this every day, I would have zero issues at all. I think it'd be fun. So some games you're going to need a high-end 1080 Ti, high-end 4090. Sometimes you're fine with the 1080 Ti. And just, yeah, I mean, like, look at it. It's the same FPS. It's insane. I know that comparing a $200 graphics card that you can buy used today against a $1,500 brand new top of the line graphics card isn't very fair. I get that. But you've kind of also got to think about the results. In a game like Fortnite, it was the exact same. In fact, the 1080 Ti won. Pretty similar, but like it won because there is no GPU load. So what I think we can really come from here is, if you are at a close enough GPU, you have a decent enough GPU, I wouldn't say maybe not a 1080 Ti, maybe something like I don't know, like a 20 series, like 2080 Ti, if you had some like 30 series, like a 3080, you don't really care for those esports titles. Okay, you might get a couple more FPS with a 4090. But if you would spend that extra money on a 1300K, 1400KS, or like a 7800X3D, that would be a much better use of your money. You'd feel the difference. And you got to think about it also. In some of these esports titles, a lot of pros, especially Counter-Strike, are using lower resolution still, like 1280 by 960 stretch, where it's going to be less and less GPU bound and the 1080 Ti will shine more. There is one huge caveat I do have though with the 1080 Ti. DirectX 12 is not really fully there on Pascal. And that's going to cause some bad performance issues like Fortnite. That's why I didn't use DX12, because performance mode is DX11 and just performs so much well. But if you don't want like ray tracing, if you don't care about that, that's not something you care about. You just want real rasterization, and you want something cheaper. You have like, you spend all your money on your CPU. This will work just fine. You're going to get high FPS in Valorant. You're going to get high FPS in Fortnite. You're going to get high FPS in all these competitive titles, Overwatch as well. And then if you have that, and then this is also going to make it so like, let's say you had like $500 in total. Instead of paying like $400 for a graphics card and $100 for a trash monitor, you could spend, I don't know, $200 on your graphics card and $300 on a 360 hertz monitor. You can definitely do that in 1080p. So if you guys have enjoyed, hit the like button down below, subscribe. If you haven't already, join the Discord and support me. Highly would recommend joining the Discord very soon and reacting, because it's going to become paid very soon. I'm just going to be blatant here. So if you guys have enjoyed, hit the like button down below, subscribe. Hope you guys have enjoyed, and I will see you guys later. Peace.